Good evening. This is Jack from Charting the Markets, and this is the Bigger Picture webinar for the evening of Sunday, the 29th of June. My disclaimer, I do this for educational purposes only. I'm here to share my technical analysis with you. I hope you can take some of what I'm doing and learn from it, transfer it to your own charts. I'm not here to issue trading signals. Now, just to mention, this is the last webinar I'm going to be doing of these that's not behind the paywall. So I'll be getting emails out about this and to everyone tomorrow. And obviously the next one on Wednesday is going to be behind the paywall. If you want to continue seeing these but you don't want to pay, these will be available after 4 days, and obviously a lot of the information will still be current at that stage, so we'll see. All right, great. In that case, let's start with ES. Now, ES has obviously made a new all-time high. We've seen one on NQ as well. Got a weak 60-minute sell signal fixed here. That hasn't made target yet, and it may not. There's always a possibility, of course, on these things that the market just heads up through them. We've already lost the weak daily RSI 14, I think, sell signal on SPX. We may well lose the one on ES as well, and we're pretty close to losing the one on NQ. So it could be it'll just go up through it, but at the moment this is pretty encouraging. I was putting a bull scenario a few weeks ago. I'll be following up on that, possibly not tomorrow because I'll be busy with emails and admin, but if not on Tuesday. Looking at the upsides here, but I will talk to you about some of the things that I was talking about last week in terms of where we were. Well, what I said was 3 things I would really like to see cement the bull case for July. DAX and the STX to break back over and convert their daily middle bands, and actually they both broke over them with some confidence on Friday. Solana and Ethereum to break back over and convert their daily middle bands. At the time of writing, Solana has broken back over, but Ethereum has not. IWM/RTY to break and convert the current rally high and start delivering on the large IHS there. There, we are still waiting. But let's go through. All right, NQ. We didn't have a sell signal here, and just as well because it wouldn't have done anything. We've gone through, made new all-time highs here, and this is making good progress. RTY almost back up at a retest of the high, and we have actually made a new high on the IWM chart. I would like to obviously see this go higher. We've got the big IHS there, which is kind of the core of the the bull case. So we'll see. We've got a weak 60-minute sell signal fixed. On YM, we saw some very good progress to the upside, not looking anything like a double top here now, and actually the same thing applies really to ES and NQ. These don't look like double tops anymore, and that's good. There are some trend lines I'm watching, and obviously this is still an inflection point, but it's very encouraging. We've got a possible weak 6-minute sell signal brewing here. Actually, I think that's as soon as that retests this high, then I think that's likely a full size one brewing. So we shall see. All right, DAX and the STX both obviously had pretty decent days on Friday. We've got possible IHSs pretty close to breaking up on DAX. And pretty close to breaking up on ESTX. We will see how that goes. All right, great. Let's have a look at the bigger picture charts. Okay. All right, SPX. Now, I've been looking at the shorter term charts here, and I'm watching the series of, I was getting a question about this on Twitter, and do we have a potential series of ending diagonals here? Yes, we do. So I would like to see it move up beyond that towards the bigger picture targets that I was talking about in my post, and then I'll be covering again another post in the next couple of days. But for the moment, do we have a series of reasonably good looking ending diagonals? Yes, we do. And we could see a fail here. I'd prefer not to, but it's always a possibility. In terms of the ES weak RSI 14 sell signal, that has survived. On SPX, it is gone. And that has failed. Looking at the Qs, it's still there, but it's on the verge of failing. And if we see another strong day tomorrow, and tomorrow's leans a bit bullish, Tuesday leans very bullish. So I think there's a pretty good chance we'll keep the momentum up on Dia. Dia has made some really good progress over the last couple of days, and I think we're now seeing that the retest of the high that I was looking for there is on the cards and may well be made fairly soon. Looking at the 60-minute chart, we haven't got as convincing an ending diagonal there, but it wouldn't take going up an awful lot to get there. I would like to see the retest of the all-time high. 15-minute chart, again, we're not really in the trend line area. All right, let's have a look at the bigger picture chart on IWM. And Here again, we've got a potential in diagonal here, but we've not really reached the high yet. Obviously, we've made a higher high over this 215.34. If we have a look at the daily chart here, this could still be a double top. But I'm very much hoping this is an IHS which is breaking up, because if we can see a break up towards this target here, that would look very good. Looking at DAX, obviously we broke back over the daily middle band with some force on Nikkei. Nikkei, I was calling this as a on Wednesday as a likely, possibly last Sunday as well, as a likely bull flag, and saying that if IWM could reach that target, then we could retest the high here at 42.4. Obviously, that's making good progress as well. I'm still liking the bull case here, and that is bolstered by the July 9th was the date when basically all these trade deals will be done, but that seems to be put back to Labor Day on the 1st of September. That gives us another couple of months to work with, and that is useful time. Bulls could do quite a lot of damage in that time, so I was encouraged to read that and see Scott Bessent talking about Labor Day over the weekend. We will see how that develops. All right, let's have a look at DX. Now, DX, we've got a possible falling wedge here, pretty decent one actually, and that's starting to break up. This could be the start of reversal. We are in a very large inflection point here. I'm looking at the other currencies. Hang on, bear with me a moment. On EURUSD, this doesn't look like a double top anymore, but could be a tiny little level top, but the main one here I was looking at. Obviously, this could be topping action and this could be reversing, but there's nothing really compelling here. Same goes for GBP USD, really. We've got a 6-minute sell signal, and that's reached the possible near miss target. USD JPY, still not entirely clear what's happening here, actually, but we will see. We've got quite a lot happening in July in Japan. We've got some big elections. We may or may not see a resumption of the trade deal negotiations. There were scheduled to be some trade deal negotiations on July the 1st, but the Japanese cancelled them, citing their frustration with knowing what it is the Trump regime is looking for exactly. Looking at USD CAD, nothing particularly obvious happening. Australian dollar could be a double top. NZ could be a double top, but nothing particularly strong. All right, let's go back to that, and let's move on to the bigger picture charts. Okay, now looking at the bigger picture charts, on US dollar, we've got the very big inflection point here. This could be a short-term double bottom, and this could be a nested double bottom on the slightly bigger picture. On the much bigger picture, obviously, this is a bull flag. I drew this in after we had this big fail here, and we reached it, and we went up, and we come down and test it again. We are underthrowing it slightly. This could be a bullish underthrow, or this could be the start of a breakdown. Now, I would say that obviously Trump policies have been fairly negative for the dollar, but this is a naturally obvious bullish setup. And my lean is still to the bull side until demonstrated otherwise. If we are going to see it demonstrated otherwise, then a conviction break that takes us below this rising support in the 96 area and continues down would likely do that. Short term, though, this is a bullish leading setup. We've got a possible daily RSI 5 buy signal brewing. We've got a possible weak RSI 14, on the weekly chart. Possible weak RSI 14 buy signal brewing. That's a fair amount of pretty decent quality positive divergence. We will see how that develops. All right, looking at the others, EURUSD, we've got a bear flag to match the bull flag on USD, and this looks like a bearish overthrow so far. On GBP, we've got almost identical setup to Euro. I've drawn in another trend line here that looks okay, but at the moment this is a bear flag, pretty decent one, and this is a potential bearish overthrow. So we're seeing which way that's going to turn. All right, looking at USD JPY, could this be a huge head and shoulders? Yes, I think it could. And the natural direction is down from here. And that obviously would tend to match down with the dollar. This is only 9%. I mean, Euro and GBP between them are something like 67%. And this is only actually, I think this might be 11% of the US dollar index. So it's not necessarily, the US dollar is not going to follow it. This, to a degree, will follow the dollar. But Japanese, obviously often go their own way. USD CAD, this looks like a falling wedge. That would lean towards a breakup, which would be bullish for the dollar. Australian dollar, we've still got this falling channel here, which still hasn't broken up, and I'm watching to see whether it does. NZ looks like a consolidation triangle. That's fairly neutral in terms of the direction it goes in. All right, let's have a look at bonds. Right, ZB. We've got a potential level top here, but we've got more happening on bigger picture charts. So let's have a quick look at ZN. Gone a bit higher here. I drew in this potential trend line resistance here. I haven't drawn an alternative yet, but there will be alternatives. But actually, the main thing I've been looking at is the bigger picture charts. So let's have a look at those. Okay. What I was looking at here was the short-term pattern. Now, I'd drawn in a potential falling wedge here, and I had a trend line which came from here and went across to about here, but we've broken down below it. And lo and behold, we have a perfect trend line here. And actually, it's better than the first one I drew in. We've got a weak RSI 14 buy signal that's fixed. We had a decent RSI 5 buy signal as well, but that's now reached the possible near miss target, and I've signed it off. This is a bull flag, and slightly oversized perhaps, but I mean, if we see a breakup, there is a fairly natural inclination towards going back to this high here at 46.29. In terms of TYX, nothing really to say on the daily chart, but that would make this a bull flag, and I think that may well be. Let's have a quick look at, well, actually, let's have a quick look at that on the 60-minute chart. Do we have a pattern on that? So bear with me a moment. Because we're close to one, but it's not nearly as nice on TLT. So let's have a quick look, because this is a chart that I haven't added. I've been adding quite a few charts to the collection in recent weeks, but I haven't added this one yet. Is this a decent falling wedge? Bear with me. Yeah, it's not awful, but it's not as nice. This would be a wedge with a bullish underthrow. It's a contender. We will see how that goes. Hang on, wait a second. But we will need to see which way that goes. It's in terms of TLT, we got a possible rising wedge there. This is a very, very possible bear flag. In fact, it's done an almost perfect backtest, 50% of this move down. The natural lean would be that it would break down from here. So I'm going to be watching with interest to see whether that actually happens. All right, let's have a look at CL. Now, CL, we had obviously the move up that we had for Iran, and then we've come down and we've formed a bear flag, and that's starting to break down. I'm expecting to see at least a retest this low. I'm thinking we could see a lot lower, and I'll show you why that is on the bigger picture chart. HO, bear flag, had already broken down. Didn't look like a bear flag on gas oil, but I would assume this would follow suit. We've got a 6-minute buy signal fixed here, which hasn't made target. The one on HO has made the possible near miss target. And on CL, that's made the possible near miss target too. So I'm expecting to see retest for the lows. I'm thinking, looking at bigger picture charts, that we may well see continuation lower, but I'll come to that in a minute. Looking at NG, we saw a very strong move up after this very strong move down. Is this just a retracement, or will this be just petering out soon and heading down again? Well, again, I've got a slightly mixed view on that too, so let's have a look at that. Okay, looking at oil, we had a weak RSI 5 and a weak RSI 14 sell signal fix. That's already made target on the RSI 5 one. We've still got the RSI 14. Where does it go from here? Well, I am wondering. We saw this break up over declining resistance, and I was calling this a falling wedge that had broken up, which is really what it looks like. Well, I am wondering if this might be a wedge that's expanding. We saw a decent fail just under the key resistance, which is the 200 DMA, and it's been a pretty hard fail. If this goes down and comes back and touches this trend line here, which I think okay, that's the best view I'm seeing. I've got that currently at about the 54 area, and if we do that, then this basically confirms the wedge, and we'd probably be finding support there. This still looks like a falling wedge, but I'm thinking we may well be heading back to support. Looking at heating oil. This I noted this was a double bottom, but I got to say, I'm wondering whether this is evolving into an inverted head and shoulders. It could be, in which case we'd almost go back, ideally, to retest the low on this as well. We get down to 2.04, which is the left shoulder line. Looking at gas oil is less clear, but we've got a pretty decent looking rising megaphone here, and the next obvious target would be megaphone support. So I think really, in terms of the obvious targets here, they're all downwards at the moment, and I'm thinking we're going to see more of a reaction to the end of the Iran conflict, and I think we've probably done with the upside for the time being. We shall see. I mean, it may be that we're going to see some uplift to go with the bullish action on equities, but we will see. The obvious targets here look as though they are down. Now, looking at natural gas, we saw a pretty decent move up. We're testing the 200-week moving average. Looking at the daily chart, that was a strong break back over the daily middle band. Now that might follow through, and I've drawn in one possibility here, which is that we're forming a rising wedge here, and we might return to wedge resistance. I've got that currently in about the 4.06 area. We will see, but that was we saw a strong move down of a kind you generally mostly only see on of a size on NG, and at the moment we've retraced over half of that in very short order. I am wondering if this is going to go back to here. We shall see. Looking at the shorter picture chart here, this could be rising wedge breaking down, but I am wondering about a return and basically an expansion of the wedge. But if so, I'd still be looking for resistance up here in the 4.06 area at the moment, and obviously rising. All right, let's have a look at metals. Now, metals, I am wondering about some signs of weakness here. Now, we're not really seeing much of that on GC, although we are slightly below the monthly pivot, but that's only the monthly pivot for another day. We'll see. We've got all new monthly pivots on Tuesday morning. In terms of SI, double top here hasn't really been behaving like a double top. It looks more like a bull flag forming at the moment, but my concern is elsewhere. We've got a 60-minute sell signal fixed here on palladium. We had one, but we've got daily sell signals on platinum. I've also got a pretty decent looking rising wedge here. I'm wondering if this might break down. I mean, this has had a hell of a run, and it might just be due to some retracement. On copper, we've seen a decent move up. This is possible wedge resistance, and I'm wondering whether it will fail there. If it doesn't, then, well, let's have a look at that too. Okay, let's have a look at those on the bigger picture charts, and looking at gold first. Gold, I am wondering if we do see some downside, whether we might actually see an expansion of the original flag or possibly turn into a triangle. This looks too far down, really, in about 30-50 area, but I drew it in as the obvious trend line if we were going to form a larger flag. If we were to form a triangle, then obviously it could be considerably higher than that. Looking at silver, silver hasn't made it to the obvious target in my view, which is the 39 area. But I am wondering about a bit more downside, and we have had an RSI 14 daily sell signal fixed and an RSI 5 sell signal fixed. This could deliver more downside if we see a break below the daily middle band, so I'm watching that as support. On palladium, no current divergence, nothing really particularly obvious on the bigger picture chart. On platinum, that's an RSI 14 sell signal fixed. This is a weak RSI 5 sell signal fixed and a full size one brewing. I am wondering whether we might see a retracement here, looking at the hourly chart as well. We'll see. All right, copper. We've still got a potential level top here. We've been making some good progress to the upside. I am wondering whether we might see a full retest of this high here at 5.346. Dr. Copper tends to be fairly, it's closely associated with economic activity, as I mentioned before, but it also tends to catch a bit of a wind when we're seeing a bullish move in the markets, which of course we are currently seeing. And maybe that will carry that more into a potential retest of this high. Looking at GDX, it's ambiguous, but we've got a potential double top here on GDX, waiting to see if that delivers anything. Nothing really in terms of, we've got a short-term double top as well, which is broken down with a target in about the 47.5 area. I'm wondering if that might deliver. GDX, not as nice, but same sort of vibe. I'm wondering whether we will see some more retracement here, so we shall see. All right, great. Let's have a look at the other commodities. So let's put it there. All right, KC. KC This is a really nice support trend line. Beautiful 3 touches, only 2 touches on the resistance trend line. But this is quite a nice short-term falling wedge. And this could be a bullish underthrow on the bigger picture. If it isn't, and it continues down, then this could head down a lot lower. But if it is, then, well, that could be pretty interesting. We shall see. Let's have a look at sugar. Sugar, we're breaking up slightly from the falling wedge. This looks like a bullish underthrow, and this kind of looks like a bear flag forming at the moment. So I am wondering whether we're going to see a retest of this low. Looking at cocoa, this is getting up towards the monthly pivot, only the monthly pivot for another day, of course. So, not necessarily hugely important. But this is starting to look a bit more like bottoming action, but we will see. Looking at CT, we've had a nice breakup from this falling wedge. This could have a shot at coming back up and retesting this high here at about the 70.55 area. And I'm wondering whether it might. At the moment, I'm not seeing much reason to think that it won't. And I have been wondering about a larger potential rally on cotton, as I'll be talking about on the bigger picture charts. On lumber, this still looks like a bear flag, although slightly weakened by the fact we didn't do a full touch of the rising megaphone support on the last swing down. Wheat, megaphone breaking down, could well extend lower. We've got a 6-minute buy signal fixed on corn. We saw that we've got a pretty decent looking megaphone here, so I'm still wondering whether it's going to head back into megaphone resistance. 6-minute buy signal has reached the possible near miss target. On soy, we broke down from this rising megaphone, and it made the target at a retest of the low on the megaphone. Nice rally from there. We've got a 60-minute buy signal fixed, which is playing out at the moment. On soybean oil, this kind of looks like an IHS forming, and I think it might be. This kind of looks like a possible IHS forming on live cattle as well. It could be an asymmetric double bottom, but it looks more like an IHS neckline at the moment. On lean hogs, we've broken down from the wedge here, and again, we could have a head and shoulders forming. We will see how that goes. All right, let's have a look at those on the bigger picture. And on coffee, if we go much lower, I'll be thinking this could just extend and start heading down towards the normal areas where you would expect coffee to trade, which should really be at a high of about 2.6. Bigger picture, this is a real outlier. So if we don't find support here, that would be what I'd be looking for. We do have, however, possible RSI 14 buy signal brewing, possible RSI 5 buy signal brewing, and pretty decent looking falling megaphone, which is underthrowing slightly. This is quite a nice bullish setup, as long as it doesn't just continue heading down from here. Sugar, we've got this head and shoulders, which is broken down with a target in the 6.5 to the 9 area. Could this be a wedge? Yeah, I wouldn't have a bad one here at the moment. But at the moment, we've got no positive divergence really suggesting this might break up on the weekly, and on the daily, it's only weak positive divergence. We will see how that develops. Looking at cocoa, again, obviously you can see on this chart is really at quite an outlier level at the moment. It wouldn't surprise me to see this break down. This double top is too large in my view to really make the target, which would be really below the trading range for the last decade and a half. Short term, no current divergence, keeping an open mind. There's nothing really strong in terms of a pattern setup here. If we establish another high and low, we may well have something, but at the moment, there's not much. Looking at the wheat chart, bigger picture, this looks like a bottom pattern. This is a potential level bottom, and this could be a nested double bottom forming, but I am wondering about a full retest this low here at 495.50. Looking at the daily chart, no current divergence. We'll see. Corn on the weekly chart, no current divergence. I'm wondering whether this is a flag which is broken down with a target down here in the 385 area. Looks more bullish on the hourly chart, but I am wondering about this looking at the weekly chart. Looking at the daily chart, no current divergence. Nothing really. Well, it's pretty oversold on the RSI 14 and the RSI 5. Nothing compelling really saying low to me. Looking at soybeans, we actually broke over this. This was the last falling wedge that hadn't broken up yet, and we've actually broken up over resistance. Doesn't mean it's not going to retest the low, and this does still very much look like a bear flag, although it would have been improved as a flag if we'd gone up and actually tested this resistance here. Would I be surprised if this broke down into a retest of the low? No, I wouldn't. All right, cotton. Cotton, one reason I'd like to see a rally here is because the next obvious target within this wedge is wedge resistance, and we haven't hit it yet. I've got that currently in about the 71 area. More like 17.5, actually. So that's the target I would like to see made, and maybe this is a step on the road to doing that. Looking at lumber, overall still looks very much like a bear flag, so we shall see. All right, great. In that case, I'll catch everyone on Wednesday, and everyone take care.